Okay, Mr. Musto, if you'd like to get started, we can go ahead with the agenda.
Great, thank you. Welcome everyone to our LCAAC meeting. We're going to open with public comment first. Is there anyone would like to make a public comment? Okay, with not hearing anyone, we'll see if anyone jumps in and wants to make a comment in the course of the meeting. Next, Mr. Lechner, could you take attendance for us?
Yes, thank you. Mr. Musto?
Present.
Ann Dameron? Vicky Chon?
Present.
Thank you. Zayan Khan? Amanda Deng?
Present.
Thank you. Kevin Ching? Yen Chen?
Present.
Thank you. Divya Rani Bellamkonda? Annie He? Prakash Tasot? Anna Schipper?
Present.
Abhay Kulkarni? Aparna Balamaran? Siddhartha Banerjee?
Present.
Thank you. Larona Jones? Michael Gardner?
Present.
Thank you. Dr. Christy Rocha? Leticia Salinas?
Present.
Thank you. Nancy Pfeiffer? And Trustee Diane Jones?
Here.
Vivek Prasad, we received an email. I believe he's excused. Thank you. That concludes the roll, Mr. Chair.
Great, thank you so much. Ms. Salinas, would you like to talk about our proposal for carryover funds?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Musto. So thank you, everyone. I know that over the last few meetings, we've had some discussion about this, but I also want to just quickly share for those of you just and for our audience. We have some carryover funds within our LCAP, and what we are proposing is due to the increased need in the area of technology devices, specifically Chromebooks for students. We propose to allocate $700,000 towards this purchase. This would be aligned and would serve with goal 1.3 of the LCAP, the implementation of state board adopted academic content and performance standards for all students, and also aligned with goal 2.1, the implementation of state board adopted academic content. And both goals serve the needs of students. And also we believe that these funds would be used to support in the implementation of new board adopted curriculum in the area of science, and also used to progress monitor students through assessments as we use iReady in our district, and it would be just some up-to-date devices for our students to use and at our school sites. And that concludes the proposal, Mr. Musto.
Great, thank you. Do we have any questions from the members on that proposal? Mr. Gardner has his hand up.
Yeah, my question's about the current practice of students using Chromebooks. Is it something that every student has? And if so, how long has that been going on?
Yes, and I'll start, and I don't know if Mr. Musto wants to add anything to it. We are at this point not necessarily a one-to-one district, but what we are is a district that supports the use of technology through the purchase of Chrome carts, and certainly some of our schools have expanded rooms that work with technology, robotics, and so forth with these tools. What this is really going to look at is supporting and starting the sustainability plan for Chromebooks. I think our board has been asking, I see President Jones here, just kind of like, what is the plan for sustainability? Because as you all know, Chromebooks with a lot of use don't last forever. And so we anticipate that once we have a new IT director, that plan will be coming forward for our board to look at. But with this, this push and support will be kind of a patchwork at this point to really fit some gaps we have, particularly for our unduplicated students. But to succinctly answer, we are not one-to-one, but certainly we need to ensure that we have access to tech.
The only point I was going to make, you actually made already, was that the this has been a very common refrain among a lot of public meetings, is that the next IT director has got to, going to have to help lead us towards a 1-to-1 or a closer to 1-to-1 ratio, and also a plan for what it's like when the situation we're dealing with now, let many of the licenses go extinct after 5 years. Ms. Chon, you have your hand up.
Yeah, I think we talked about this last time, but if you could just give me a quick refresher, are these Chromebooks intended for the students to take home and use at home, or is it more for like Chromebook carts in the classroom? Or both?
Do you want to answer that, Ms. Salinas? Because I believe the answer is mostly for replacing Chromebooks and classroom use Chromebooks rather than Chromebooks at home.
Correct. This is for direct use inside of the classroom with our teachers and with the students in class.
Yeah, we'll say this.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was just going to add that we are, the technology department has distributed many Chromebooks for home use. That's a pilot program we started actually just this spring. We're taking some of the older Chromebooks that we're replacing and giving them to students who are unduplicated for use at home. But that's a pretty small program right now. We're hoping to see that expand.
Okay, and then are a lot of these Chromebooks just replacing our old ones? So it's not like we're going to be getting more for the classrooms?
Yeah, unfortunately, a lot of our purchases right now are replacing those whose license has expired after 5 years.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Mr. Gardner, and then Mr. Banerjee.
Two questions not really related to each other. One is, I never heard how long we've been doing using Chromebooks. And in particular, it's important because I want to know if there's been training for teachers on how to use Chromebooks in classes, because you can just throw in some technology, and if teachers don't know what to do with it, then it's just a cart in the classroom. That's the first question. But the second question is, what is the current overall budget allocation, or how much are we spending for computers overall? Like, is this like half of that budget, or is it like 10% of that budget?
So I can take a crack, and Ms. Salinas jump in also. I believe it's been about 6 years since we started buying Chromebooks. I know that because the license expires after 5, and last year is when we started having these start to expire. The budget-wise, a lot of Chromebooks have been paid for centrally by the district, and especially over the last couple of years since distance learning began. But however, a lot of the Chromebooks were purchased by the site at site levels. So it's obviously that information can be compiled, but since they are not centrally purchased, it would take a little work.
I think that really points to what we've been hearing from our board, and certainly we're hearing it here and from our teachers, is just a refresh plan for our district and just the planning around that. So we're hoping to have our IT director in place soon. And I will also say, I know I'm not a member there, but there is also a parallel committee that happens, and that's our IT committee that is also working towards a lot of these conversations and plans, and that is chaired by the IT director. So after Mr. Bogle left, I know that was a little bit put on pause, but we anticipate that's also gonna be a central place for these discussions as well.
Mr. Banerjee?
Thank you very much. Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead. I just realized I forgot the second part of Mr. Gardner's question, but please go ahead and we'll address that afterwards.
Oh yeah, sure. I was wondering if we don't have a motion in table right now, so we can start the discussion, or we can start the motion and then start discussion. So with that, can I make the motion?
Absolutely, and thank you for that clarification, that reminder on point of order.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. Or should I go after someone else to make the motion? Okay, if not, my motion today is to approve the proposal to purchase a Chromebook, the proposal that was just spelled out by Ms. Salinas.
Anna Shipper seconds.
And do you have a question also, Mr. Banerjee, or just a motion?
No, I think with that, we can have a discussion if other people have questions.
And since I skipped over it, Mr. Gardner's question about training for teachers. At first, I don't think there was much of training. I was a site principal at the time, and it was kind of like get them in and distribute. And they were really kind of the equivalent of like a mobile computer lab and things. So it was relatively easy. The training really started in earnest when we went to distance learning. And there was a great deal of training that happened for not only use of Chromebooks, but how they can be utilized in a distance learning thing. I do think that was unfortunate circumstances, but it did really push not only availability, or excuse me, the skills the teachers had, I'm trying to think of the word, but it also improved accessibility. You know, we made a real huge push to identify the students who didn't have access at home. And I believe that's continued. I know that's continued since we returned this school year. So I do think the training has been sufficient, although sometimes the teachers show me things that are new, and you know, we want to help expand that knowledge base. Yeah. Mr. Lechner.
Mr. Chair, I have a brief question with respect to procedure. Is this committee still subject to the Brown Act?
I believe so, by the board's choice to have this committee be Brown Act.
I think it's optional and not going to be difficult because I think there's a strong institutional imperative for this meeting. But you realize that we are all potentially personally liable under the Brown Act criminally for not obeying with the rules. And it was my impression that an emergency meeting with 24-hour notice requires that the committee decides that there was an emergency by vote. And we also today have 2 fewer members, voting members, present than last time. So it's not clear to me by what rationale we didn't have a quorum last time, but we do have one today. I'm okay with proceeding if everybody wants to do that, and I'm not going to stand in the way, but if somebody could explain to me what your thinking is, please.
Okay. So I know the quorum question has been a consistent one. Ms. Salinas, do you have any clarifications you could help with that?
Yes, so I believe at the last meeting, and I apologize, I wasn't there, but my understanding was a question came up that we have had some members who are no longer part of the committee due to excessive absences, and we knew that they weren't going to be returning. And so in essence, our committee grew smaller. And when you look at the bylaws, it says the majority of the committee is present with at least 5 parent community members, voting members. And so with that was our determination that we had quorum. So that's why everyone is a voting member here except for President Jones and myself. And so that's what we were basing it on.
Thank you.
Mr. Chen?
Going to the language of the proposal, it says that we want to basically focus on goal 1.3 and 2.1, which is basically like making sure we have the assessment and performance standards and such. And the third paragraph, I brought this up last time. It says that implementation of the new board adopted curriculum in the area of science. I'd like to kind of propose a friendly amendment. If we could strike out, you know, in the area of science and leave it broader, because, you know, the assessments cover math, English, and language arts. And I'm not too sure if it also covers social studies. And the state mandated assessments are for different grade levels. And science specifically, I think is 6th through 8th grade. And we're shifting from junior high to middle school program. And so I just want to keep to that concept that we're basically making the technology available for all students, and assessments are at all levels. And I don't want to just have someone reading this in the future and saying, oh, the minimum science assessment is for middle school.
Mm-hmm. I think that's a really excellent point. And I believe help me with my Robert's rules here. But I believe the person who made the original motion, I believe that was Mr. Banerjee. Would you give your thoughts on the suggested amendment by Mr. Chen?
Sorry, I just had a little bit of technical issue here.
Oh, sure. So on the proposal, Mr. Chen proposed on the third paragraph, where on the second line where it says new board adopted curriculum in the area of science, to take out the in the area of science and just say board adopted curriculum and use to progress. So just take out the science specific portion of it.
Yeah, maybe the word new.
New, okay.
Okay, yeah. So we amend in this motion what Mr. Chan said.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm a little bit not sure of what I've heard is right, but yes.
Okay.
I can repeat a little bit. I mean, the assessments for the different types of things that the state is looking for. The basic ones are science, math, English language arts. The science is for 6th to 8th graders, which is middle school, or we're moving toward that from junior high to middle school. And grades 3 through 8 has the English language arts and math. And then we have maybe social studies also as a line item in the assessments category. So I just wanted to make sure that we didn't pigeonhole ourselves and be so specific on a proposal that says science. Yeah. We're really basically doing assessments across the board and making sure we have assessments for all the students. I know that we've added additional assessments like iReady and intervention programs at an earlier age, but that's, I think that which is great, and if the technology is available to do those assessments, it would be also great. And so that's why I wanted to make sure it's just a little bit more broad, and having goal 1.3 and goal 2.1 stated above, making it a little bit more vague basically covers all of the assessments.
I really think that's fair, just because you're correct. It will be used for more than just the science assessments. Mr. Lechner?
Mr. Chair or Mr. Banerjee, would it be possible, since this is an important meeting, to crystallize the motion before us for the benefit of the minutes? So
Certainly.
I have
So the motion before us is is the proposal that is linked on the agenda. The first two paragraphs would be as is. The third paragraph would go as follows. These funds would be used to support our students in the implementation of board adopted curriculum used to progress monitor students through assessments.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chair.
Okay. So with that, I believe we've now had our discussion. We can put it to a vote. Mr. Lechner, can you call for the vote? Or can you do the?
Are we doing?
He can call a roll call if you'd like.
You do a roll call. Thank you. That's it.
I'd like to, just to save time, could we say without objection?
Okay. So with the as I just read it, the wording, are there any objections to this this motion? Okay, hearing none, I think we can say that is supported by this organization, this group.
Congratulations, everybody.
We made it.
Okay.
So I don't believe we have any other agenda items. One last call for public comment. Okay, with that being said, I believe we may adjourn for this evening and for this year. So thank you very much.
Have a good summer, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great
Bye.
summer.
Bye-bye. Thank you, everyone.
Aye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.